Shohei Ohtani is officially out of the All-Star Game. But the biggest concern is not one missed exhibition in Philadelphia. It is whether the Dodgers can continue using him as a two-way superstar without allowing one knee problem to affect two completely different parts of their roster. Los Angeles scratched Ohtani from his scheduled pitching start against the Arizona Diamondbacks because of continued irritation in his left knee. The same issue will keep him from participating in the All-Star Game, and the knee is expected to be drained during the break. Ohtani has remained in the lineup as the designated hitter, but the Dodgers have not announced a firm date for his next appearance on the mound. Site, turn 19488 search. Vero turn 19488 search. 3 R's are simply being cautious. The All-Star Game does not affect the standings. Los Angeles has championship expectations, and there is no reason to expose its most important player to additional stress in the middle of July. Removing Ohtani from the event gives him several days to receive treatment, reduce the irritation, and prepare for the second half. That explanation makes sense. It is just not complete. This is not merely a player being given an extra day of rest. Ohtani was removed from a scheduled start that mattered to the Dodgers, and the team was forced to cover the game with its bullpen. That tells us the problem is significant enough to change their pitching plan, even though it has not yet forced them to remove him from the lineup. And that distinction is where this situation becomes complicated. For a normal starting pitcher, the decision would be relatively straightforward. Can he complete his delivery safely? Can he field his position? Can he repeat his mechanics without compensating for the discomfort? For a designated hitter, the questions are different. Can he generate force through the lower half of his swing? Can he run the bases? Can he stop, accelerate, and slide without making the irritation worse? Ohtani has to answer both sets of questions. He has said the knee affects his pitching more than his hitting, which helps explain why he has continued serving as the Dodgers' designated hitter. He even homered after being scratched from his pitching assignment, showing that the issue has not eliminated his ability to produce at the plate. Site turn 94948 search. 3 turn 19488 search. 6 knee is irrelevant. A pitching delivery places repeated stress on the lower body. The lead leg has to accept force, stabilize the body, and provide a firm base as the pitcher finishes his motion. If the knee is irritated, even a small mechanical adjustment can affect command, velocity, or the pitcher's ability to repeat the delivery. That is why the Dodgers cannot evaluate this situation only by asking whether Ohtani feels capable of throwing. They have to determine whether he can throw without changing the movement pattern that makes him effective. Pitcher compensating for discomfort may place additional stress on the ankle, hip, back, or throwing arm. The immediate result might be a few missed locations. The longer-term consequence could be much more serious. For the Dodgers, protecting Ohtani means protecting the entire chain of his delivery, not just the knee itself. That is also why temporarily keeping him at designated hitter is the logical first adjustment. It preserves his bat while removing the more demanding part of his workload. But it does not solve the roster problem. When Ohtani does not pitch, the Dodgers still have to replace those innings. In the game from which he was scratched, Los Angeles used 7 pitchers in a bullpen game that is manageable once. It becomes much harder if the club has to repeatedly redesign the rotation around uncertainty. Site E turn 1094888 newsed 6 time. Every missed star T. A reliever may be required to cover multiple innings. Another bullpen arm may become unavailable the following night. A starter could be moved up or asked to work on shorter rest. The Dodgers may need to carry an additional pitcher instead of using that roster spot somewhere else. That is the hidden cost of managing a two-way player. Ohtani does not occupy 2 roster spots, but he performs 2 roster functions. When one side of his game becomes unavailable, Los Angeles cannot simply replace him with one player and continue normally. The Dodgers can protect his knee by pausing his pitching schedule, but the rotation absorbs the cost. They can reduce his overall activity, but then the lineup absorbs the cost. And if they attempt to maintain both roles too aggressively, Ohtani absorbs the risk. The most important factor now is not the All-Star Game. It is how the Dodgers rebuild his pitching schedule after the break. Does he immediately return to a regular rotation turn? Does he need extra rest between outings? Will Los Angeles shorten his starts or reduce his pitch count? Does he need another bullpen session before the club is comfortable putting him back into a game? Those decisions will reveal far more than absence from Philadelphia. A player can be healthy enough to pitch once without being ready to pitch every fifth or sixth day. The Dodgers are not only evaluating whether Ohtani can get through his next appearance, they have to decide whether his knee can tolerate the accumulation of starts over the rest of the regular season and potentially through October. That changes how the front office must view the rotation. If the Dodgers believe this is a brief interruption, they can use the All-Star break as a recovery window and continue with their existing plan. But if Ohtani needs an irregular schedule, limited innings, or additional recovery between starts, Los Angeles may need more pitching depth. A rotation can survive one skip turn. A championship contender cannot comfortably operate for months without knowing when one of its starters will be available. That uncertainty becomes even more important as the trade deadline approaches. The Dodgers do not need to panic, and there is currently no reason to assume Ohtani is facing a prolonged absence. But the front office has to prepare for more than the best-case scenario. It must evaluate whether the rotation is deep enough if Ohtani's pitching workload is reduced. It must consider how much relief support will be required. And it must decide whether protecting him for October is worth sacrificing innings in July and August. For a team built to win the World Series, the answer should be obvious. The Dodgers are not trying to maximize Ohtani's number of appearances. They are trying to maximize his value when the games become most important. That could mean separating his two roles for a period of time. It could mean allowing him to remain one of baseball's most dangerous hitters while treating every pitching appearance as a carefully managed event. There is also a broader tactical question. When Ohtani is both pitching and hitting, the Dodgers receive an advantage no other team can easily reproduce. They get a middle-of-the-order bat and a starting pitcher from the same player. That flexibility affects roster construction, bullpen usage, and lineup depth. But the advantage only exists when the workload is sustainable. The moment his physical condition forces the team to protect one role from the other, the Dodgers have to decide which version of Ohtani they need most. In July, the answer may be the hitter. In October, they will hope the answer can be both. The next meaningful update will not be whether Ohtani feels better after the knee is drained. It will be what the Dodgers allow him to do afterward. Watch whether he continues playing every day at designated hitter. Watch when he throws his next bullpen session. Watch whether his next start is scheduled normally or pushed back. And watch whether the Dodgers begin using language about restrictions, recovery days, or workload management. Those details will tell us whether this was a short interruption or the beginning of a more complicated second-half plan. Missing the All-Star Game is the headline. How the Dodgers divide Shohei Ohtani's workload after the break will tell us how serious the situation really is.